Seems like a pretty reasonable assumption that if a child had a disability, the school would do what's necessary to help them learn. If they had a condition that limited their physical, mental, or sensory access to learning, that the law would require the school to accommodate that child. But what if I told you just having a disability isn't enough to legally require the school to accommodate? To understand how that could possibly be, you have to know about the Individuals with Disability Education Act and who it's supposed to cover. Andrew Lee, a lawyer for Understood.org, describes IDEA as a federal law that requires schools to serve the educational needs of eligible students with disabilities. So who's eligible? General provisions of Subchapter 1 of IDEA define a disabled child. They're a student that has one or more of the following: intellectual disabilities, hearing impairments, speech and language impairments, visual impairments, serious emotional disturbance, orthopedic impairments, autism, traumatic brain injuries, other health impairments like ADHD, and specific learning disabilities like dyslexia, and who need special education and related services due to those disabilities. Who decides who needs special education and how do they do it? Subchapter 2 of IDEA states that the school is required to evaluate a child in all areas of a suspected disability. It means they're responsible to administer the right tests, evaluate the results, and then present those to the parents at an eligibility meeting. Other information that's reviewed and considered at the eligibility meeting is the academic record of the student or his grades, teacher evaluations or notes, and other information like possibly a doctor's diagnosis. All of this information is reviewed as a whole, and the team decides if the student is progressing towards an appropriate educational goal for that individual. There are two possible outcomes if there's an indicated disability from the testing. If there's an indicated disability and the school identifies barriers that are limiting the student's success, they will write an individual education plan or IEP that will be drawn up to address the specific challenges of the disability. If there's an indicated disability and there are no barriers to success identified, the student won't qualify for an IEP and it's assumed they're doing just fine as is. So how do the schools determine if there's impact or a barrier? The schools compare the student's performance against what's expected at grade level. If it's at grade level, they're going to say there's no barrier to learning. If it's below grade level, but the student seems to be making progress, they might say that the student is making suitable progress for someone in their condition. In either case, no IEP or services are going to be required. Now, parents aren't going to be happy with that. So there's a recent Supreme Court decision that gives them precedence to argue that, and it's Andrew F. versus Douglas County School District. In the opinion on that case delivered by Chief Justice Roberts, he states a student's educational program must be appropriately ambitious in light of their circumstances. That means that if they're at grade level but could be doing better with accommodations, or they're below grade level but could achieve grade level with accommodations, that those things are appropriate for that student and the school should be providing them. So who is covered by IDEA? You're covered if you're a student who has one of the disabilities listed in IDEA and has barriers to academic success. All students deserve the chance to reach their potential. That's the purpose and intent of IDEA, to give them the structure to do that, and for parents to challenge it if the schools won't help. Understanding IDEA is just the first step towards assuring that children reach their educational goals and maximize their potential.